Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, I want to share a little bit of what I was learning over Shabbos, a mimer from the Rebbe Shlita, given over Parshas Miketz Tafshin Samch Vav, 2006, which was the second year that the Rebbe had started teaching Shalosh Torah Berabim. Tafshin Samach He was the first year. And this teaching sheds light on the entire historical moment that we find ourselves in. And for me, this teaching is one of those places where the Rebbe's Torah comes and puts everything back together again. It serves as a nakuda pnimis and even hashasiya that whatever a person is going through in their lives, whatever ideas are percolating in a person's mind, they can dig into one of the teachings of the Rebbe, whether it's a mimer, whether it's a Shal Shudas Torah, and they can find everything that they need. Olamecha tira b'chayecha. Now, this teaching is of such fundamental potency because it gives us a direction as to what we have to be doing nowadays. The Rebbe speaks of the fact that the Arizal and the Mekubalim hinted to two times of Geula, two stages of redemption. And these two stages of redemption corresponded in the writings of the Mekubalim to the year Tafshin Lamed Vav and Tafshin Samech. Tafshin Lamed Vav was 1975, and Tafshin Samech was year 2000. And while we don't engage in trying to assume when the Kates is going to come or when redemption is going to arrive, when we find times or calendaric dates that are susceptible and ripe for the arrival of redemption, what that means is that something takes place. There's a new opening, a new level that is revealed on those days, that afterwards, it's as if there was an element of redemption. So even if these redemptive dates are not actual calendaric moments of redemption, nevertheless, these years represent certain shifts in consciousness, certain shifts in Jewish experience. In 1975, there was a revelation, says the Rebbe, of an awakening of the Jewish hearts, which is the development of the stages of Geula. And from the year 1975 and onwards, there began to be a revelation in public to the fact that Yiddishkeit was ultimately about connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Dveikus became part and parcel of the vernacular again. 1975, whatever was going on, there was a ha'ara that came down of a desire to return back to the light. But the dveikos at that point was still through the externality of the Torah and the secret of Bina. There was a revelation of Bina, her tshuva, to come back to the Torah. But it was still the revealed nature of Torah. And then from Shnas Tafshin Samech, which was 2000, so then there was an awakening of Pnimiyas Torah, of Chachma. So there were these two unfolding stages. In 1975, there was an awakening of Bina that was revealed for us to want to cleave to the interiority of the revealed teachings. In 2000, when there was a Mahapecha Gedola, there was a shift taking place, the numbers were changing. So we entered into a place of Chachma, which was now going to be a refocusing on Pnimiyas Torah. And from the vantage point that the Rebbe is speaking, Tafshin Samech Vav, 2006, he's representing the fact that there's a new stage opening up. From 75 to 2000 was the first stage of redemption, which is Bina. From 2000 to 206 was the stage of Chachma. And from 206, Ad Vias Goyel Tzedek is going to be the space of Kesser that the Rebbe is talking about. And it's this space of Keser that the Rebbe says is now unfolding in front of us, which is higher than Bina and higher than Chachma. And it's a secret of Keser, the secret of imagination and entering into a dreamlike state of experiencing Dveikus and Emuna with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'mala mitam v'das. Bina is about learning about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, uncovering Ruach HaKodesh through the revealed teachings. Chachma is about encountering Ruach HaKodesh through the concealed teachings. Keser is the secret of Hashra'as Ha'elyon al Hatachton, the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all of the celestial expressions of light above are revealed down here for all to see in our own most lives, day to day, hour to hour experience of Nishmas Yisrael walking around with the dream of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's what's beginning in Tafshin Samach Vav. And in Tafshin Samach Vav, the Rebbe is giving over this Torah, which is in and of itself this opening. Now, Miket Shnatayim Yom Uparacholim, Miket Shnatayim Yom, there were two kitzin, there were two stages of the beginning of the end, which are the stages of redemption. The first is 1975, and the second is 2000. And Miket Shnatayim Yom, at the end of these two kitzin, at the end of these two revelatory stages of Hashem's Giloi for Klal Yisrael to be able to draw forth more Geula mindset, Uparo Cholem. Paro Cholem is the representation of that light of Keser. The Cholem, which is the dream, comes about through Paro. Paro is a lashon of Priya, of revelation. Uparu cholim. There's something that opens up from the year 2006 on, which is an entrance into this dreamlike state. The cholem we know is the nakuda that rests on top of the vav. It's the secret of Keser Elyon. It's that which is ascendant. That what we're looking up towards, the place where we draw down all creativity from. That cholim is the secret of the chalom de kedusha, the dream of holiness, which is the light of Keser. And so Miketz Shnatayim Yom means that after 75 and after 2000, by 2006 and on, and we're 20 years from that point now, is the awakening of an access point of Keser, above Bina and above Chachma. And the Rebbe says that this is the secret of Vihine Oimed Ala Yor. Paro Cholim, and Paro had a dream, and we were standing on the banks of the river. The Yor, the Nile River, the place that Moshe Rabbeinu was retrieved from, the place that salvation ultimately comes from. The Ramchal describes in Adir Bamarom that it represents the hidden lights of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the need for those lights to be concealed sometimes so that exile could take shape in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to run. And all of the or gets hidden within the Ora. The Yud and the Hey get hidden within the Or. But then when Moshe Rabbeinu was taken out of the Ora, so it becomes the Or Yud K, the light of Chachma and Bina. Yud is Chachma, Bina is the Hey. And so Al-Svas HaYor means that after the dream of the redemptions, so what happens is we now stand on the banks of the river. We stand higher than Chachma and Bina. There's a revelation from Shnas Tafshin Samach Vav 2006 and on, that there's an awakening and a revelation of a hidden and concealed revelation that is above the aspect of wisdom and above the aspect of understanding, and the secret of Keser and the secret of standing on top of the banks of the Nile River. That even though the lights of the revealed Torah and the hidden Torah are profoundly ascendant and transcendental in their quality, that's Chachma and Bina, that's 1975 and 2000. Nevertheless, it's the light of Keser that ascends upon all of them, in the secret of the fact that from 2006 on, Bnei Yisrael have begun to enter into a place of true dveikus with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the aspect of Paro dreamed, which is the revelation of the light of Keser, as explained in the earlier commentators, the Kadmonim, that in the future, the Or of the Cholim is going to be revealed to be the dream of holiness and the holy dream. And the Rebbe continues, and he starts to describe how the history of exile, as we perceive exile, a lot of it comes from the book of Daniel. And what Daniel perceived and what Daniel saw within that vision of all of the shapes and the colors in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself, the Partsufim. Daniel sees all of these different animals, the Aryeh, the Dove, the Namer, and then the creature with the 10 fingers, the 10 claws. So the Svarim HaKadoshim of Nachman Ilov Shklov points out that these 4 animals that Daniel saw, the lion, the bear, the eagle, and this creature, represents Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which is the Rosh Tevos of Adnus, which is the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself through exile, through concealment itself. And that of all of the levels of concealment, it's not the Aleph, the Daled, or the Nun, the Aryeh, the Dover, the Namer that's most frightening, but it's the lowest expression. It's that creature with 10 claws, which represents Edom and Yishmael, and all of the difficult concealment and the layers of concealment, 10 levels of impurity. And it's only after encountering that lowest most point that Daniel sits a little bit longer and he sees Atik Yom and Yosef. He sees the light of Keser revealed suddenly on top of the whole system, and it's mamtik all of the dinim. But the Rebbe asks a question. He says that before we even get into what Daniel was describing to us, and this is a question really on the entire system of the Arizal and the Zohar HaKadosh, is that we encounter a stira, and this is something we've spoken about. That on the one hand, kilora isim kol tmuna, there's no image, there's no shape, there's no measurement, there's no limitation, there's no constriction, there's no color, there's no measure, there's no form above in the celestial realms of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinitude. There's absolutely no materiality, no source of materiality, no nothing at all. Everything is filled and saturated with a fundamental, simple, unified light that negates all possibility of distinction and separation. No shapes, no colors, no terms, no conditions, nothing that can be said that can be grasping HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. But on the other hand, we find, we see exactly what Daniel is seeing, Atik Yom and Yosef, and Abba, and Iman, Arachanpin, and all of the different partsufim and shapes and colors in the aspect of V'tmunas Hashem Yabit, that there is an image that we have to grasp of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, we do have to be able to relate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by way of measurement and by way of form. And so the question is, what's the yishuv here? On the one hand, it's a love velo limidos, so we have to go directly to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, which is completely negated of all shape, color, size, differentiation, limitation. But on the other hand, it's impossible to go directly to him other than by way of his midos, a love bederech midosav, which means that we have to be able to grasp the measurement and the definition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, obviously, even when we're dealing with the Kalim and the way in which we grasp HaKadosh Baruch Hu and all of the partsufim and the tmunos that we are describing, we're not, God forbid, claiming that those things actually exist, but we are utilizing them as necessary tools of reaching beyond that which we can grasp. And so we have Shnei Ksuvim HaMachisham Zadzel. On the one hand, there's Lo Re'isam Kol Tmuna. On the other hand, it's the Tmunas Hashem Yabit. And what the Rebbe explains, and this is what all of the Mekubalim explain, is that no, the Iker is that there's absolutely no shape or color or form of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's no limitation. It's absolute infinitude. But nevertheless, the Shechina HaKadosh is Megale El Hanavi B'Tmunos U'B'Maros Kadishin B'Bechinas Koyach HaMedama V'Achaloim De Kedusha. But the secret is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals a certain quality of himself, referred to as the Shechina Kadosha, which is the shorish of Dimyon, Biad HaNeviya Medame, the choice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal himself in the guise of colors, in the guise of shapes, in the guise of forms, as if it appears that there's a graspability. And that's revealed to the prophet by way of the power of imagination and the dreams of holiness. And all of those measurements and images are there so that each and every one of us can be misdavik, darchim lamala elamatzli yisparach shemo. All of these shapes and all of these partsufim and all of these measurements and all of these appearances and colors through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself, it's also that we can ascend by way of the ladder of those graspable terms, the midos, and ascend up to a love mamish, which is above any graspability. There's two tnuos. That's the ratza that wants to run immediately up to a love velo lemidosav ein od milvado atzmusis baruch kavyachol shem havaya ha'atzmi, where there's absolutely nothing that exists. But then we come to realize that we can't sustain that type of surge forward, and we have to come back down into the guise of a shov, which is encountering HaKadosh Baruch Hu by way of his midos, but never getting trapped in the midos. But it's a love b'derech midosav. And that mechanism is the dimyon. That in between, that interface is the dimyon, the shechina, the kedusha that's megala within the mind of each and every person in order to be able to grasp HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in order to understand this light of Kesser that's coming out from 2006 on, which we're still drinking from until Vias HaMashiach, we're only getting started. So the Rebbe now is going to go into a conversation, into a deep discussion about what is the nature of apprehending HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence in this world. How do we see the Geula? How do we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the shapes and the colors of his revelation? And so the Rebbe continues and he says as follows. He says, with regards to the Eitz Hadas, when it came to encountering the beginning of consciousness in this world, which appears to be separate from the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so the pasuk says that it was temptation for the eyes because it was beautiful to look at. That there was something very seductive about the image of the Eitz Hadas, something that beckons the consciousness of Adam and Chava. And Zok Tehilligat Semach Tzedek. That what is the Eitz Hadas and what is the Eitz HaChaim? The Eitz Hadas and the Eitz HaChaim are the two stages in which we apprehend HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light in our world. There's something referred to as Memala Kalaman and Soiviv Kalaman. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saturates all worlds and HaKadosh Baruch Hu surrounds all worlds. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saturating all worlds, the secret of Memala Kalaman is the imminent presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu down here in existence, and that's referred to as the Yichud Tata. The Yichud Tata, which is Mamala Kalaman, which is where I see creation as something that's real and separate, so to say, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but at the very same point, I see HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence within that separation. I'm able to look at the world and all of its partitions and all of its valences, and I'm able to say that every part of it reveals the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a world, but the world is a vessel that reveals HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So I see the world and I see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world, and my job is to be mevatel myself that feels separate and attach myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's still operating with separation and unity. And then there's Soivev Kalaman, which is the transcendental grasp of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinite presence, which is beyond measure, beyond distinction, beyond limitation, and it makes no orientation towards particular vessels or particular forms of expression. It's a universal, all-inclusive light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the Soviv Kalaman. Now, the Eitz HaChaim is to eat from the Eitz HaChaim and to live with Soviv Kalaman consciousness, to live with an awareness of Ein Od Milvado, that there is nothing but the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is found everywhere, revealed by way of concealment, by way of revelation. It's everywhere. There's no distinction between above and below. That's the Eitz HaChaim. When a person eats from that, when a person drinks from that place, they're aware of Eino in Movado. But the Etzadas Tovara is already opening myself up into separations, into this and that, into up and down, into good and bad, into Mamalakalam, and into Hashem is here, Hashem feels that he's not here. But there are these two separate orientations. And as a result of eating from that Eitz Hadas, what happens is that we perceive the world by way of various colors, various expressions. HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself in different ways, different shemos, different points of revelation, different forms of expression to the individual, different colors. Kigavna, HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself by way of colors, the chamber of changing colors. Every experience, every orientation, every revelation is a different color of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation. But when a person is stuck in an Eitz Hadas orientation and they don't remain ever aware of Eino and Movado, those colors very quickly become blackened. They descend down into darker colors, Gvanin Shchoirim, where a person begins to walk around this world feeling tzabrachan and they feel low and they feel stuck in atzvus, God forbid. The whole world appears to be dark and covered over in darkness, both in physical, material reality as well as spiritual reality. For the time that the Beis HaMikdash has been destroyed, Chazal tell us that chayin and yofi, beauty and grace have been taken out of existence, all the more so with regards to spirituality, that all of our apperception of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and apprehension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and our grasp, all of the consciousness that moves through the individual this way or that way, it's all darkened and blackened, and everything that a person sees in front of their eyes, they find difficulty and deficiency. And all of the images that a person gazes at, we find concealed colors, gvanin she'einin me'irin ve'ein noigelo, lights that don't mean anything to me and lights that are not having an impact on me. Everything is because we've eaten from the Eitz Hadas and we've caused the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, which is the concealment of God's infinite light from our minds. But in the future, Pasuk says, Male haaretz deya es Hashem k'mayim liyam mechasim. That in the future there's going to be a revelation of Das as Hashem, Deya as Hashem, which is the revelation of the Yichud Ilah, which is the revelation of the Eitz HaChaim. Deya is Gematria Ayin Tes. Dalid Ayin Hey is 79. And this becomes a very important Gematria for this mimer because the world is 78. The world is Hashem over here, Hashem over there, and Hashem over there. The three forms of Shem Havaya that express themselves within the mind. Havaya in the right brain, Havaya in the midbrain, and Havaya on the left. Those 12 osios of the three shemos of Havaya that exists within the mind, Havaya in front of me, Havaya to the side of me, and Havaya to the side of me, that's Gematria Ayin Ches, that's 78. 26 times 3 is 78. That's the Gematria of Chalom, of a dream. It's also the Gematria of Lechem, of bread, because this entire world is a battlefield in which we have to be able to transform physical reality and reveal the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that place, when there's only the three shemos of Havaya, Havaya here, Havaya there, I'm still operating in a place of Yichud Tata, of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, of separation. The job that I need to do is I need to draw down the hidden aleph that makes that 78 into 79, and it transforms the Chalom into a place of Deas Hashem, where I become fundamentally aware of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation. And that's the entire Avodah, to live with the three Shemos Havaya, which are the Chalom, which is the dream, which is the Lechem of this world, which is my encounter in the Eitz Hadas type of reality, which is Shavisi Hashem Lenegdi Tamid Hayahov of Yihiyah, and then to draw down the hidden aleph that rests beyond the system, which is light of Atika Stima'a, which is light of Keser Elyon, which is light of Eino and Movado, and to draw that down into the Chalom and to allow the Chalom to be illuminated with the light of the aleph. And in doing that, I'm going to be able to break free of the darkened colors and the negative orientation and the pessimism that comes from the Gvanim Shchoirim and the Gvanim Afulim, the hidden darkness of this world, and I'm going to be able to draw down a profound light. And says the Heilige Rebbe that the matter is as follows, that the light of Soviv Kol Almin, that hidden aleph that has to be drawn down into the Chalom, to transform the Chalom into a Chal Matava Re'isa, to reveal Ein Oin Milvado, the true pitron of all Chalomos. Soviv Kol Almin, this aleph, this Pele Elyon, this Alufa Shel Olam, is the secret that all of existence is truly godliness. All of existence is godly revelation. And this is the element of the white light that is ascendant and beyond all colors, beyond all differentiation, beyond any shift or change. It's the secret of the Luban Ha'elyon, that place of Lavan Ha'arami that Yaakov had to go into in order to learn the secret of dreaming in a holy way. The Luban Ha'elyon, that whiteness that exists far prior to any of the blackness of the differentiated letters. The differentiated letters, the Eish Chayra is the world of Memalakalam, and the Havaya here, Havaya there, Havaya here, that's Lechem, that's Chalom, that's Melach, that's the battle, that's the bitterness, that's the transformation, there's the attempt and the trying. And then there's the Luban Ha'elyon, which is the Eish Levana, which is the hidden white light of goodness, which transforms everything to good. The light of Soviv Kalaman is that white light. The Or HaMemale Kalaman, but the light of Hashem saturating all worlds, Das Tachton, our perception. So there's the purified singularity of that white, blinding light of goodness. And then there's all of the changing colors and the pulos and mishtanos, all of the shifting expressions through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the world and runs the world. And that's the place where we lose ourselves. All of the differentiation, all of the shifts and the changes. But now, since the Beis Hamikdash has been destroyed, the entire world has transformed from bright colors into darkened and blackened colors. And even if a person has a moment of illumination from other colors, and it seems that those colors are going to be able to break me free from my darkness, they're still not shining properly because it's still in a state of exile. But when we take a white light candle and we allow it to illuminate the darkness, and we transform all of those blackened colors into a site of revelation, suddenly, bepeta petom, all of those variated colors that appear to be so differentiated and so deeply rooted in the struggle, they all become shining colors. Everything begins to shine the light of whiteness in a new way. And that image that comes about when the light of whiteness is revealed through the chamber of changing colors, that original blackness, that thing that looked so weak beforehand, that thing that looked so pessimistic and sad beforehand, is now transformed into a clarity that shines forth with a wondrous light. Like a light that comes into a darkened house, that all of the darkness is pushed away immediately, because even a little bit of the darkness dispels so much of the light. Now, this darkness, all of the different colors, all of the loss of narrative, all of that loss of center that reveals itself in all of the shifts and the changes and all of the ups and the downs, that's the aspect of the tree of knowledge. That's Memala Kalaman. That's the notion of grasping the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself to me in this world that appears to be dark, but I can still draw down light. Begvanim she'einin me'irim. Because from the perspective of HaKadosh Baruch Hu creating the world, we live in a territory of apparent situation and apparent concealment and darkness. And from the time that the Beis Hamikdash has been destroyed, that's gotten even darker. That even though everything in this world is a revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu showing us himself in each and every moment in different ways. Nevertheless, as long as it functions in the mindset of the Eitz Hadas, in that natural tendency towards pessimism, it's going to appear as blackened colors, as darkness. And a person who's only living in the Eitz Hadas is going to lose themselves. And for that reason, says the Rebbe, that we have to merit to taste from the Eitz HaChaim at the same time that we're eating from the Eitz Hadas. That we have to draw that singularity of that white light that unifies all separation into the chamber of changes. The entirety of existence is Havaya here, Havaya there, Havaya there. 78, the Chalom, that saltiness of existence, that bitterness, that difficulty. And we have to draw down that hidden aleph, the Livonius of the aleph, that whiteness that precedes even the aleph itself, the Pella Elyon, to draw it down and to be mamtik it and to transform it into a place of Deas Hashem that will come to understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's drawing the Soviv Kalaman into the Mamala Kalaman, drawing Keser into Chachma and Bina. Because the Gimel Havayos, the 3 times Shem Havaya, which is the root source of all of existence, is the gematria of Chalom, and it's the gematria of Melach, of salt, the saltiness, the bitterness. Why? Because the entire world feels salty. The entire world feels like something that is intolerable to the palate. It's too salty, it's too bitter, it's too overwhelming. It's too severe. And that's what happens when a person is stuck in the bad dream of all of the changing colors when they're only living from the Eitz Hadas. It's also the gematria of lechem, of bread, which is the secret of halechem asher hu ochel, the encounter with physicality in this world. Meshiloch says that's the root of all physicality. We have to encounter the battle in that place. It's the aspect of malchus, that which is without revealed meaning. because the true nature of the existence of this world operates in the guise of the tree of knowledge, good and evil. And by way of descending down into that, we have the opportunity of shining forth the light of the Aleph from Atika Stima'a, from that hidden place of Keser Elyon Olav Nikra, that secret light of the Chalom de Kedusha that is revealed from the year 2006 and on for all of us to partake in, which is what enables us to sweeten all of the light. And we draw down this white, sweet, clarified light into all of the darkened, changing colors. And through this, the light shines even more intensely. And all of those colors have the ability of being transformed into a place of Malo Haaretz Deas Hashem Kamayim Liam Lachasim, as is going to be revealed in the secret of Paro Cholem, that Paro, the place of revelation, dreams, and it reveals the light of Keser. It's the ability to draw down unity into all of the shifts, to draw down optimism into the pessimism. Before the arrival of Mashiach, says the Rebbe, Klal Yisrael begin to enter into this avodah of the chalom. We enter into the cholim. We enter into that place of dreaming beyond our capacity, of thinking beyond the bina, what I know externally in Torah, or even the chachma, what I know internally in Torah, and to reach that place of hashras ha'elyon, which is the cholam, where the upper light descends down onto the vav itself, which is the secret of hashra, ruach hakodesh, and a holy dream. And through that, we have the ability of ascending into the light of the presence of Keser. And then what's going to take place is that which right beforehand the world appeared so dark and so bleak, and all of existence seemed to be filled with struggle and toil and burdensome difficulty. And every moment of life is filled, stuck within jealousy and temptation and honorifics, and it causes an exhaustion to the self, of the body and the soul and everything that it's going through, as well as the chitzonius of the world that appears to be darkened and everything that's going on is so difficult. Suddenly what's happening is everything is being transformed now to a profound light, and there's a light of the Aleph that begins to shine down, like the light of whiteness that shines down into darkness and blackness. And it's not enough that this light dispels the darkness that was there prior to, but the opposite is true. It now takes all of those darkened colors and it allows them to be even more beautified than the white light itself, more meshubach u'mefuar, af yoter mebechinas haner halavan atzmo, because when we can reveal the light of the Aleph within the concealment, so then that concealment itself becomes the place of the Tosefes Kishut, because the light shines forth and it breaks all of the colors up and it allows them to shine, like the light of the rainbow that shines forth, which is the revelation of the Shekhinah, as the Zohar Kadosh tells us that we should not anticipate the light of Mashiach's arrival until we're capable of seeing the beautiful rainbow as it shines forth in all of its clarified colors. Then we can begin to yearn for him. Because as long as we're looking at the world in all of its variated shifts and colors by way of blackness or deficiency, and we see Malchus as if it's this darkened, frightening thing, and all a person looks around in the world and sees, and everything that they feel that they're going through is difficult and struggle and concealment, and that all HaKadosh Baruch Hu does is run the world in the wrong way with me, and I'm stuck in darkness, and there's no light for me, it's a clear sign that the person has not yet begun to ascend out of exile yet. A person is still stuck within only that halom that doesn't have the pitron. But what a person has to learn to do is to see the world in all of its entirety as the chamber of changing colors, and then to draw the aleph into those gimel havayos to be mamtikit and to transform all of that confusion into Deya es Hashem. And by doing this, we transform 78 into 79, which is the secret of Umala Haaretz Deya es Hashem, Deya. To be mamtik all of the dinim with das. And we begin to see how all of the world is filled with all of these changing, shifting, beautiful colors, and all of them are the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that way, we get to live the world as a Chalom de Kedusha, the revelation of light. The Rebbe says that the Tzemach Tzedek teaches in a number of places that it's not only on Sukkot that we encounter the Ushpizin, that these visions come down, that the imaginative process in which we behold Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, David, to live one's life as if every moment is saturated with the Sheva Haroim, with all of the Ushpiz and Kadishin. That also happens on Hanukkah. We also have the ability to transform this world into the white light of redemption on Hanukkah as well. The Ushpizin come to visit us. Every soul is visited by the Kedusha of Nishmas Yisrael and the secret of the dream, a dream of holiness where Klal Yisrael begin to feel the closeness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like a person who encounters a very dear friend who they've known from their youth, and they felt the deep closeness to that person, and then they suddenly see them after a long time. The light that comes from that, all the more so when a Jew who's been struggling to feel the light of godliness in their soul suddenly begins to feel how close HaKadosh Baruch Hu is and how revealed Hashem is within the soul in these holy days. And each and every day, Hashem reveals himself in a new color and a new light, and we add from one day to the next in terms of our grasp of him. This is the greatest level of joy. This is the element of Uparu Cholem, that there's a revelation of the dream of Keser, which is the holy dream, which enables us to utilize our imagination to see faith and to see Shem Havaya everywhere. That it's through this revelation of the holy dream that we can take all of the difficult colors and all of the different shapes and measures that HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals in the world every moment, every day, every person, every object, every encounter with anything in this world is a tzimtzum. That's the tmuna. And it looks like all of these different colors, but when we can draw the light of whiteness down, so then we have the ability of illuminating them with the light of Keser, with the light of Atika, and then the entire world is transformed into a place of Dasas Hashem. And so when a person feels within themselves that their status and their qualities and their day-to-day experience is struggling and they're stuck in pessimism and they can't find a way out of the darkness, a person has to see to it that they learn how to transform the image of this world on a spiritual level from darkness into light and from concealment into redemption. Any state of mind that a person finds themselves in, where at the beginning they feel difficulty and they feel struggling, they feel sad, they have to make sure that they see deeper into the light, and they have to ensure that the light shines, and that comes about by way of the hishtoikukus and the yearning desire for the Pnei Melech Chaim, for the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light. And at that point, Malchus, which appears externally to be blackened like death, is transformed to be the secret of Tchelas, the secret of the redemption of imagination, which through imaginative principles, we have the ability of climbing out of the blackness and seeing that the Yam is Daimel Rakia and the Rakia is Daimel Kisei Kavod. And over we can climb higher and higher. And this is what the Sfarim HaKadoshim tell us as the Rebbe, that a person has to look at the Neiros Chanukah, they have to allow their eyes to be illuminated, for the sake of transforming all of the images and all of the shapes and all of the pictorial depictions of this worldliness, which appears to be so concealed, and to remember how each and every part of existence is ultimately just a revelation of God's essence by way of transformative, tremendous lights that have the ability of revealing the light within these changing colors. And this is what it means that Hanukkah is ultimately the culmination of the Yamim Noraim, as the Sfarim tell us. This is the culmination. This is where we have the ability of drawing tefillah, the stuckness of Malchus, back up to the nose, back up to the deep breath. With the deep breath of the nose, Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem, we begin to draw forth from the place of the Choitim de Kedusha, the light of Geula that's going to be revealed, the light of Yehudim, the light of the Os Aleph, the light of Yosef HaTzadik, the light of interpreting the dream properly. David HaMelech, we said, never had a good dream. David HaMelech is Malchus, and Rosh Hashanah sometimes doesn't go the way that we need it to go. And at that point, we have to draw down the light of Yosef HaTzadik to interpret the bad dream, which means that even after Rosh Hashanah and after Yom Kippurim and Shmini Atzeres and all of the attempts to get it right and to daven properly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to feel that we're getting it right, nevertheless, the tzaddikim point out that there's a pathway for even those who haven't been meritorious to fix what they need to fix. They haven't taken care of what they need to take care of. But what happens in Hanukkah is a person has the ability to rectify all things and begin to look at the world with eyes of goodness, to look at the world with a light that is illuminative, not stuck in darkness, but a light that affirms HaKadosh Baruch Hu's existence, a light that affirms Lehisaneg al Hashem. Because the fact that we walk around in the world and we see it as dark and we see it as concealed, it's because we only see the rainbow when it's darkened, when Malchus descends down into those darkened colors that don't shine. And when we're operating in a place where it doesn't shine, it's din, and it's dina de Malchusa dina. And this is when a person looks around at the world and everything that's going on in themselves with darkness and sadness. This itself is the punishment to the individual. This itself is the stuckness. But each person has the ability, each and every person, no matter where they find themselves, to ascend and elevate themselves out of that stuckness and to transform that blackness of Malchus and to sweeten the din and to begin to dream again and to elevate the point up on top of the Yud in the secret of a holy dream, which is drawing down the light of Keser. That just as in the dream of a night, everything appears to be revealed, and I can see things in my dream that are not real, even if it's not part of this world. That's the light of being able to see Emunah even when all I see is darkness. Because in this world, everything appears to be colors that are not shining. And there's no grace and there's no beauty. But the dream enables me to imagine that everything is good and beautiful and to see that the world should shine. Again, that in this world, it appears that the colors are not shining and that they don't have grace and there's no true beauty. But the dream enables a person to imagine that everything is good and beautiful and wonderful, and it gives me the ability to see the world shining again. So too, every neshama from Klal Yisrael in these days has the ability to look at the grand total of the picture of reality, the grand total picture of their inner lives, and to ensure that it shines and that light shines forth from it, the light of Keser, which is above Chachma and Bina, and to connect all of the distinction and separation down here in the aspect of the Yichud Tata, and to attach it back up to the Yichud Ilah, which is the aspect of Chachma and Bina, all of my avodas Hashem and all of my efforts and all my struggle. I should see light there. I should see light in every place that I look. I have to be a lamplighter for other people. Every person should see that their avodas Hashem shines light, a beautiful light, and to ensure that I'm shining light on my friend as well, and that my friend is shining light on me, and to help other Yidden and to bring about light for everybody. And everything that a person goes through, even when it feels darkened and even when it feels concealed, the person has to search out the light in that place, in the aspect of the tchelas, to look at the blackness and to imagine the light and to come back to the kisei hakavod, as if there were a candle, a white candle that was illuminating on top of my head, shining everything. This is the secret of the tzaddikim who have the ability of drawing down the light of Keser down to Malchus. This is the secret of Keser Malchus Barosho by Esther Amalka, that there's going to be the crown of Keser that's going to be revealed in the lowest place. Because it's only through the dream and the aspect of refined and holy illumination of imagination, which is the aspect of Malchus, that we have the ability of ascending up to the light of Keser and the secret of the dream. The dream throws a person all the way up from a place of distinction and distortion and insanity, and it allows us to run all the way up to a place of unity. And it's by way of this holy dream and imagination that we have the ability of opening up in front of ourselves the gates of Torah, both revealed and concealed. The levels of Chachma and Bina revealed in 1975 and 2000, Kesser gives us the ability to reveal the light within all of them. And that every time that I enter into the work of Dveikus, of Yichud Ilah and Yichud Tata, meaning to say, anytime I encounter anything in this world and anything happens to me in this world, whatever I find myself in, whatever circumstances I find myself in, I should know and I should recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the show and he's governing reality at each and every moment. And within this particular existence, I'm drawing down the light of the ascendant unity, which is the revelation of the profound lights that shine when I live with the knowledge that everything that's happening is Latova and Labracha, and everything is a revelation of God's kavod. And even if I don't grasp it in my mind or in my knowledge how it's good or where it's going to be good, nevertheless, I believe and I trust that everything is Latova. And in that way, my imagination transforms the darkness of reality into a place that shines with the face of the King. It shines with the face of the King, that I can bring the Yichud Tata and the Yichud Ilah back into a place of Keser Elyon Alav Nikra to reveal how all of existence shines. And that's when I draw the light of the Aleph down into those three Havayos. Havaya, 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 Lechem, Melech, Chalom, and drawing down the Aleph into it, which is Deas Hashem. When a person is able to do this, when a person is able to elevate Malchus, which has fallen, which is the aspect of speech, is where our pessimism comes from, where our negative self-talk comes from. That's that level of David, when we're able to elevate it back up to the nose, to smell deeply, to breathe in deeply with the light of Yosef HaTzadik. So then we have the ability of redeeming everything, because as long as the work of Tefillah is not redeemed with the light of Yosef HaTzadik, with the light of the Aleph, then Tefillah itself appears to be blackened and thickened and stuck without any vitality whatsoever. And all of a person's existence in life feels overwhelming and sad, and a person doesn't feel that they're surrounded by holy angels and that they're surrounded by the neshamas of the tzaddikim and the Shechina HaKadosha, and that they don't realize that they're a merkava for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when a person doesn't realize that, then naturally their days are going to be filled with bitterness, like something that's way too salty, when life and existence stay stuck only in the external nature of Malchus. But this is what David HaMelech davened for, that my tefillah should be seen as ketoras, the sweet smell of Yosef HaTzadik that has the ability of transforming all darkness into light. That the desire of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that our tefillah, our experience down here, our Yichud Tata, should be ascendant like the ketoras that has the ability of bringing up pleasant smells from the bottom to the top immediately. And all of our prayers and all of our efforts and all of our exacerbation in the service of God should be transformed into a place of light and revelation of the face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And anytime a person is davening and thinking of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it should be literally as if we're drawing down the loftiest light imaginable throughout the entirety of the worlds, and I'm drawing it into every part of myself. And in that place, my tefillah goes up. It goes up to the nose. And in that place, there's a hamtaka gemura. I shouldn't always enter into tefillah or service of God by way of deficiency or how bad things are, or how struggling things are, because that's the truth. Things are difficult. Life is difficult. The world is a difficult place. But a person has to directly connect themselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu above and beyond, and they have to daven from a place of Oyer v'simcha, with the knowledge that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is shining his light onto all of existence. This is the main work from 2006 and on, says the Rebbe. It's the secret of Miketz Shnatayim Yom at the end of that redemptive beginning of Bina being revealed in 75, where there was a Hisaris of Tshuva and there was a music of Tshuva in the Welt, and there was a desire to redeem a certain form of inner freedom. And then in 2000, when there was a radical shift going on, from then on, our job is to illuminate our souls with the light of the dream, with the holy dreams, to think and to contemplate how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is shining his face down to me, specifically in the times of Hanukkah. When a person thinks and contemplates all of the souls of the tzaddikim that come down to help each and every soul day in and day out in the times of Hanukkah and in all aspects of nighttime, to feel closeness to God in a profound and powerful way, because this has the ability of transforming every element of physical and material existence into being the sight and the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinite light. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. This is the avodah that the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh teaches us. That specifically from Min HaMeitzar, from within the Yud Gimel Tikkunei Dikna, from within all of the Nephilos and all of the Yud Gimel Tikkunei Dikna are rooted in those three Shemos of Havaya, the Havaya, 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 which is 12, plus the Kolel is going to be Yud Gimel. And we have to be mamtik all of those dinim, we have to be mamtik that with a light that is above all of that, with a mitzias of or that shines forth. And a person should spend time contemplating how, in truth, the soul has the capacity to dream, and I can draw the light and as a crown on top of me, like the cholim on top of the vav. And I can receive the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not something that needs to be drawn down from above, but rather something that has to be revealed as always already being here. Like the Heilige Baal Shem Tov, the light of the 7 days of creation, teaches us that the entire matter of redemption is dependent and stands upon the fact that Klal Yisrael need to be able to receive this principle, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here at every moment, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here in everything, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here in all of the darkness. And we have the ability to ascend and to see the lofty worlds as they exist down here with us. And we have the ability to be Nehene Miziv Hashchina, from the presence of God and Emunah. It all comes about from the power of the dream and the sanctification of imagination. This is our avoda, to transform the darkness of this world into a place of light, to draw down the deepest light imaginable, to ascend upwards back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be able to say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, to be able to see illumination everywhere. This is the dream, to dream it into existence. The choilem, that instead of living with the chirik underneath the vav, where everything feels so constricted and contained, to throw that nakuda all the way up on top of the vav, to be zorek the nakuda from on the bottom of the vav, which is the concealment and the struggle, and to throw it all the way up to the top of the vav, which is the choilem de kedusha. And in that way, we have the ability to be mamtik everything, of elevating Malchus back up to its true place and drawing the Gvanim Nihirin, the beautiful colors and unities, into the realm of concealment, into the realm of struggle. Be'ezras Hashem, we should be zocha, by way of the koyach of the words of the tzaddik, to dig into this avodah. This is avodah for us from 2006 and on. We're only 20 years from there. Chaf hadimyon, to learn how to dream our way into Kesser, to learn how to dream our way into seeing the world as being a garden, as being light and good and tov, and Baruch Sha'amar V'haya Ha'olam, Baruch Sha'amar V'haya Ha'olam, the radical affirmation of goodness in the light of the Or Haganas, no matter what it takes, no matter how much darkness a person has to push through in order to affirm that Kimala haaretz deas Hashem, Kimayim liam lechasim, all of the concealment is going to be transformed into a light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence. And this is the Chalom de Kedusha. V'hayimiketz shanatayim yomu paro cholem. Paro is a lashon of priya, of giloi. There's going to be a revelation through the dream. And hayinu kecholmim, we're going to see that we were like dreamers. The entire world is a place that stands at the ready to be interpreted. And the deepest thing is ma hachalom, to contemplate the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to dream the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu into existence. Be'ezras Hashem, we should be zoichet to drink from the fount of the Yam HaChachma, Advias Goel Tzedek, that we should be mamshech with this avoda of dreaming holy thoughts, of utilizing our imagination, and instead of letting it drag us down to the bodily instincts, to throw it all the way up on top of the vav, to enable us to dream thoughts of holiness, dream thoughts of light, dream thoughts of unity, dream thoughts of goodness and positivity and affirmation, and not only for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones, for the world around us, but Ezras Hashem.